All right, and welcome again. In this video, I'm going to talk about very little. I'm actually going to just talk about my little toy bass here, and then I'm going to play a little bit, and I'm going to show you how I really enjoy playing this instrument in a jazz context. And um, I think it's really related to what I do on the upright, but of course at the same time it's totally different. So this is my little Fender Squire jazz bass. You can see the neck stock there, right there. I got this thing in like around 19, around maybe 88, 89, maybe 90, something like that. And I tried about 10 of them, and the key, Ed Reynolds always told me the key was to play them on amplified and hear which one was the most even and had the most resonant ringing and maybe loud sound. And this was the one. So it's some kind of, wherever these things were made, it's a nice piece of wood. And I did have it worked on a little bit. Ed put new frets on and put some tuners on, and I put a hip shot on to get a long low note. Bob Palmieri came in and did some routing here and put some pickups on. But the main thing I want you to just understand is this is just basically a really, really good bass. That they vary, but I mean Fender bass is just a great bass. It's just like in the sounds of our lifetime, and it's a beautiful sound. And I got round one strings, and this is a jazz bass, and so it will tend to have that bright sound. It's got a funky attack to it, and this and that. So I'm just gonna give you some examples. I'm just gonna play something kind of straight ahead, but let's just talk about the sound a little bit. And I think the first thing that I just want to say is that when you're shifting, there's a tendency when you play these instruments to kind of back away from the instrument as you shift. Try to feel like you're really into the string. When I was doing those scales in the last video, I was hearing that shifting a lot on the string, that sound. So you can minimize it a little bit by relaxing the pressure when you're shifting. So for example, if you do the shift study. Now, if you hear it, I'm going to turn the mic off. There's definitely some in there, but I think you hear a little bit less. You're hearing a lot off that mic. It's picking up a lot. But at any rate, don't feel like when you're shifting that you have to jump up, move away. You do want to feel. There's going to be some of that that's in the character. You can minimize it a bit by holding with the other. Definitely louder. You're hearing the shift itself, but at any rate, don't be afraid of the string. I guess that would be the bottom line of what I'm saying. So now that said, this kind of an instrument has such color in terms of attack. On the one hand, if you just listen to its vowel sound, its basic, kind of like almost a sine wave. So really get into that. These instruments bring out that sustain. Obviously, you don't have to worry about intonation. It's kind of nice. So three-note chords, super powerful. Thirds and sevenths up here when you're learning a song like Autumn Leaves, something along those lines. This feels way more powerful than the upright. And of course, you could do tapping. But that sounds kind of, you can get it stronger by the amp and by improving the technique. I'm no tapping expert, but I'm not dissing the whole thing. But just in terms of relating it to your pulled string sound. Even tenths are very important and powerful. Great ear training exercise, singing the melody while you play a song. The autumn leaves, blah 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 blah. Do, 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 do. So you've got a super powerful piano-like sound right here in your lap. Let's see. So that's the natural, beautiful sound. So when you learn melodies to songs, you know, say you're learning, I don't know, what would be good? All the things you are. Everybody does that. So 1,000 melodies on this instrument. So basically, the same exercises I'd have you do on the upright, you would do here. You would play the melody to all the things you are. You would walk, of course, maybe play in two, walk, and then of course you would solo and be able to go in and out of each. So that's really that's the test for the jazz musician. And just because you're playing an electric bass, even though it's called a jazz bass, we don't think about it as a jazz instrument. It is. Jazz is in the feeling. Steve Swallow and Jaco, Monk Montgomery are three that come to mind right away. But you can definitely do it. And you know what? When you have to play this instrument, even though you're really an upright player, this just brings a whole nother element to it. Okay. And then there's different envelopes to this sound. As you hear me when I'm going to go ahead and do a tune for you, you'll hear that on the one hand you have that pretty sustained kind of a sound, and then you also have attacky kinds of sounds. So you can kind of overblow on an instrument like this. It's set up on, it's not super light. Between the last video and this one, I cranked the E string. I felt like it was a little low. So it's kind of over the top. It's a little high, but I kind of like having I sort of like having that extra low end. Where to pick, that's very important. So don't lock yourself into one place all the time. You may hear something different at different times. Certainly to go to solo, it may change from what you're doing when you're accompanying. When we pick up here, it could be good, but it and of course if it were amped up or EQ'd or something like that, it could be really nice. You just don't get a lot of front end on the note. So when you begin to want more front end, you start moving in this direction. And of course the trade-off, it starts to get bright or too loud or something. So it just kind of depends. I find myself, as I was improvising, I've been playing this thing for about 45 minutes now, and just kind of observing what I'm doing to think about things to tell you. I find myself going down here a lot of times. I feel like I can get a fat sound down here, but it's very clear and articulate, especially when drums are playing, something like that. So this thing, Bob set this up so that it doesn't buzz, like I could control the blending between the two pickups, which is nice and interesting. I think most of us know that Jaco played a lot on the back pickup, at least that's what I think he was doing. So when we do that, we definitely and then when we add the front pickup to that, we get this has got more fatness, it's got more fullness. When you try to take away the bottom pickup, it's possible. That's a nice round sound too. It might be nice in Latin music. And also I should mention, my tone is rolled all the way off right at the moment, which I mean really helps with the fullness. When I was young and I would go in the studio, they would always say, "Turn your treble up." So I got all the highs, I got all the sound, and there's that. I could see that. But on the other hand, you got to be comfortable when you play. So for me, if I'm here, I actually like that. That sounds good. But sometimes it's too bright. So you got to dial in the sound that you hear so that it feels good to play. Otherwise it's a drag. It's going to sound great later. And I don't want to work like that. I want to feel like it sounds great right now. So the tone control is an important part of it. I find oftentimes I'm just rolling it off because I like that fat, full sound. Even though I know I'm pulling some frequencies out of there. All you engineers out there. So that said, I love the electric bass. So I'm going to share my screen with you all right now, which I should be able to do in this recording mode, and here it comes. So you will see that I'm in Logic, and here comes my screen, and there it is. So all this is I've taken a Paul Carman CD metronome track, which is the blue thing that you see there, and this one was 145 originally. When I first uploaded it, I set the project to 145 and brought it in, and then I enabled flex mode in Logic, which is right here. Where is it? I'm not on the right track. There we go. So now we see right here, flex mode, and it says rhythmic. So what that means is, when we do that, it means I can change the tempo, and the audio file will follow, which is nice. So I'm currently at 140/40 instead of 145. and then I just found a nice spot in there where it loops. I'll drag this window down a little bit, and you can see, make that a little smaller. So I've just dialed in on that section. I don't know what that is, 30 some bars. It's a weird number of bars. I think I picked, I don't know how long it is, I can't quite tell, but it's about 38 bars maybe. So right now I'm going to play, let's see, I'm going to play Falling in Love with Love. And I'll just give you an example of that. I may point out some things. Well, I don't want to stop, so I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna do what I would like you to set as a groove for yourself, which would be turn on this drummer. Okay, drummer, go, and then you play the melody. If you know this song, it's "Falling in Love with Love" by Irving Berlin, and then you, is it Irving Berlin? Yeah, I think so. And then you play the melody, and then you walk. I'll give you. I won't go too far. I'll just do one chorus of each. And I'll quit after the solo. After the solo, I might trade fours with myself. This is just your lab. Like, I could stay here for hours. So here it is. Drums, go. I'm going to drum it down a little bit. And here stop there, and I will stop the share. Hopefully you got all of that. So yeah, a lot came up on that. I mean, I realized how many times, how many different things that I do as I just try to play something like that. I had this neighbor back in Rogers Park. She was, man, she was a drag. She would walk around all the time and pound on the ceiling anytime I played the piano. You ever have a neighbor like that? She really helped me out. I appreciate her to this day. That's like 40 years later. She saved my life. No, just kidding. Not really. You learn how to deal in adversity. You can have neighbors, but man, I'm right here. I got my world, my headphones. So that's a great message or thing for all of us. Electric bass is a blast. It's an absolutely great time and a party and all that. So I think you saw different things that I did. I was able to use the power of the electric bass to play chords for myself, really kind of create a whole world there. I got totally screwed up when I started in after the head. I just went into a solo, but then I said, oh boy, I better walk for him, so I went back and forth between the two. So that gives you some ideas about what it is. But anyway, just know that this is not just something to play licks on, or just groovy, thumb pop and stuff, which is all great and all that. But you can use this as your music lab, like to just work on the same stuff. And when you go back to your upright after you've been doing this for a while, you will feel super powerful, because this kind of helps you out. You can go for these notes, not worry about intonation so much. You do have to kind of wrap your head around the idea of playing on these frets, Todd Coolman's a great bass player. He just hated frets. He couldn't. He at least maybe he plays them now. I don't know, but he just kind of couldn't deal with them. So maybe it's when you're a guitar player, you're used to them a little early. So I think that gets enough of what I wanted to get across in this one. I didn't get too funky in the solo, but I could have. And so I might maybe, I mean, I could even play that way. I do this enough now to where I kind of. Practice that a little bit, but that's my lesson for right this minute for all you electric players. So enjoy your electric bass, have a blast with it, don't be shy about it. The title of this video could be, where's your bass? Because that's what people will invariably say to me if they see one of these. And of course your answer is what? This is my bass. This would be my bass. $200 bass, right off the rack. Sounds good. Sounds good. It's a great fun sound. That sound, that's, boy, Chuck Rainey. Yeah. It's a little brighter. You can have the flat wound strings, have the darker sound on it. You can have the P bass. Check out Car Wash, check out James Jamerson, check out Bootsy Collins, check it all out, and it's all there. It's all music. It's just all music. That's all it is. And you can change. You could take a bass like this and make it sound totally different with EQ and preamps and various things. So, and with upright, you always feel a little kind of removed from this a little bit. But I tell you, once you get more comfortable with this, then you bring the upright into it, and if you can play the upright, if you can play your scales, you can play with the bow and all that, then boy, you're that's why I just love the world of bass, and that's why bass players become, you know, great producers often. Steve Rodby, Mark Egan, others I can't think of right now, but just we're always in the center of the whole thing. And so whether you're going to go and be a virtuoso or you're just going to be a groove straight down the middle, make the band sound good, Leland Sklar, you know, just we're all in this together. There's so many great bass players in so many different styles. So, you know, if you guys are all kind of learning jazz now, it's kind of new for you. Just to realize you can learn jazz on this thing. We used to call it the pork chop. You can learn it just as well on the pork chop as you can on the double bass. That said, the double bass is the history of the music. Jimmy Blanton and Walter Page and everybody after that, the whole world up to today. Okay, so that's it for now. Signing off. I'll see you next time. All right.